Hello and welcome to today's tutorial. My name is Joseph. I hope everyone's doing well today. So in today's tutorial I'll be covering a simple starters to physics. This is kind of a bit of a prelude to the playing around with creating water physics in Gamemaker. Just as a warning, physics engines are a pain in the rear as always. Only because they operate off different principles to what most of you will be used to in Gamemaker. So normally in Gamemaker we only deal with two parameters, which is X and Y. In a physics engine we deal with a little bit more. But before I get into showing you guys what I've done as a bit of a demo, you guys are awesome, you have no clue, stay amazing. Discord server's always open, I do check it every night. And yeah, so let's get into this. So there's not a lot of programming in this one, but I'm just going to show you guys what I've done here. Just so you can kind of wrap your head around it. So you can see here I've got a bunch of blue squares that fall in and they apply by physics. You can see they shift and jostle around because they've got very low friction applied to them. I've got my player character which can jump with a really shitty jump that can kind of abuse it. As you can see, if I jump at these blocks here I can interact with them and shift them and all kinds of things. So I can push more down. So it's kind of water physics-y, it's kind of dodgy. But it will show you guys some cool stuff you can do. If I right click on a block I can delete it, so you can see here I can push more down. And if I keep jumping around here, oh no, I lost control of my character. You can see all the blocks actually interact with each other and the physics is applied. Now, this is where things can get a bit complicated. So let's look at what I've done to do this. So when we generate objects in Gamemaker to utilize physics, before I get into that, we need to go into our room, and we need to go into our room settings down here, and we've got room physics, and we need to enable it. What that will do is it will use real-time calculation to work out the physics of objects. And this is where things get a bit more complicated in the sense of normally in Gamemaker we coordinate by X and Y. In physics we have a bunch of other parameters that apply as well. So the first thing you're going to notice is the one bit of code I do have in here. Oh, wrong button. Trying to make the text bigger. Is you'll see that I've got a left, right, and an up. And instead of doing a simple X plus or minus whatever, I've actually got to use phys position X and phys position. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Thought I was going up for a second. Negative and positive for my X and Y's instead of just X and Y. And that's because X and Y no longer apply when using physics with physics objects. They actually need to know a physics input, because it starts to work out energy equations and stuff like that in the background. So here you can see my key jump or key press up. I actually check to see the object's phys speed y is less than 2 to apply the jump parameter, which is again phys position y. So it's just a bit of a different mindset. So that's kind of the program side of it. That's all I've really used. Minus a right click to delete a wall. But in here, when we generate the object for the first time, we actually need to go into physics, and we can set all our parameters here. So this is the physics, the rotation, linear dampening, the collision groups, so we can have multiple collision groups. That's like, how do I explain it? Like the impact on the floor. So if I set this to, let's say, 1, and density is how heavy it is. So if I set this resolution to 1, what's going to happen in theory is when I hit the floor, you can see how I bounce. And that's because what's happening is it's doing a bit of a pushback, which is part of physics. So I will leave that as a 0.1. The other side to this is we actually, when we go into physics, we need to go to a modify collision shape. And this tells the physics engine in operation how to treat our object. So if our object was a sphere as the collision, and we sit on an edge, so if it's a sphere instead of a square, and we sit on the edge, you might see an issue where you might slide off edges more easily without realizing it. So there's certain things you have to do in here to basically clean it up. I believe you can make more complex shapes. I haven't played with that. Just as a side note, I've just done the default so I could kind of explain to you guys how this all works. So each of my objects here have physics applied. So if I go to my wall, you'll see here I've got the same physics thing going on. It's a square again. But this time, all its parameters are set to 0, minus the friction, which is pretty ramped up, to stop it from interacting with anything and letting anything push it around. Because it's a wall, I don't want it to move, so it needs to use high friction. In the half block here, this is a bit of a different one. So if I go under my physics, it still applies the same principles of the wall. But in the shape, you can see I've got a triangle. And I've just basically set one of these parameters back to 0 to bring it to a triangle shape. That's where it lets it move in the sense of a triangle. So, I think... I think I just broke that. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I really broke that. So, let's see what happens now that I've done that. So, you guys will see what I'm talking about. Oh, awesome. Now I've really broke it. So there, if I apply it to a box, that should load. I can't see why it's going to give me an error this time. So you'll see it behaves the same as before, but this time the triangles don't actually behave the way we expect to the image. And that's because all of those are now squares. So I think, I can't even remember how I edited it. Ah, that's right. So if you hit the enter key, you can edit. So if I set that to 0, 0 and run it now, we'll see what it does. It should be a triangle now. So you're going to see, yep, there you go. That's the behavior we're expecting. So the shapes of your objects are really important in the physics. So once we've done that, the water object is pretty much just literally a very basic, it's got a density of 2, it's got a bit of a bounce back, it's in the same collision group, it's got no angular dampening or anything like that. It's pretty straightforward. So this is kind of an introduction to your physics. I hope you guys like this. This is just to show you guys there's other ways to program in Gamemaker other than just the defaults, and you can get some cool effects. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of physics because I don't like working in these parameters because it makes your life harder, especially if you don't have a physics mindset. But you can create some cool stuff as well. So that's today's tutorial. Don't forget about the Discord. Do the usual. You guys are awesome as always, and I will talk to you guys later. See yous.